Where's Neil this afternoon? Oh, breathing in too much like dust. Where's Neil at?
Yeah, I do see a mild. I saw a mild flash.
Thank you. We're going to get ready to open the meeting in a minute. The meeting is called to order. We need to establish that we have a quorum present. We do. Introduction of attendees. Let's do that again. Let's introduce ourselves, starting with Julie.
Julia DeHaven, board member. Dottie board member. Shannon Hicks, board member.
Josephine Wade.
Thomas Tepe, board member.
John Tuggle, Library Director.
Cindy Duncan. Helen Asher.
Penny Parker.
Kathy Cuminello, executive secretary.
Legislator.
I did Woodard Latin, public relations.
Nina Eldridge White.
Marcus Persley, staff.
Thank you so very much. Glad you're here. This is my second meeting as your board president. Bear with me. Let's bow for a moment of meditation. Thank you. Public comment. I must let you know that public comment is limited to a cumulative total of 15 minutes, both for and against, on any given issue. Commenters must fill out a card to request time to speak. Those who are present to make such comments are asked to select their speaker or speakers and address the point they wish considered with this limitation in mind. Individual speakers are limited to a total of 3 minutes. Seeing none, we'll go on with the approval of the agenda.
Second.
We want to, before we go on, we want to, before we table. We have a motion and a second.
Motion.
I second.
Are you ready for the question?
Yes.
We would like to table under new business item A. On the new proposed revision of the Sri Memorial Library education policy. We got that one already on. It's been moved and second that we table item A. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We will table item A under new business until our next meeting. Now, let's go back to the approval of the agenda with the change. Do I hear a motion?
I move that we approve the agenda with the change of cabling under number 5, new business A.
Second.
It has been moved and second that we table 5A agenda item Are you ready for the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item A is tabled until our next meeting. Approval of minutes. Now we have 3 sets of minutes. Draft of special board meeting minutes from November 16th, 2015. Can we get a motion?
Move to accept the draft of special board meeting minutes of November 16th. Second. I second it.
Okay, it's been moved and second that the draft special board meetings from November 16, 2015 be approved. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Question.
Question?
I would like you to say regular board meeting and special board meeting. I think Julia said special board meeting, but also both of them there, they can say both of them, unless you're gonna do them.
We're going to do them one by one.
You'll do one by one, so Julia said,
Is there any objection?
you just said special, somebody say regular.
Is there any objection to doing them one by one? Separate meetings? Okay, we have a motion and second on the special board meetings for November 16th. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Motion stand approved for the approval of the special board meetings. Now we go to the draft of the regular board meetings for November 16, 2015. Motion.
I have one. Oh, I have one change in the category, it's a typo on page 4. Although I think I'm an original, Shannon Hicks, I don't think that one.
He's asking for,
It wouldn't hurt anybody's feelings to leave it in.
If you call me that. And thanks, Kathy, I appreciate that.
the motion is for "the" to be removed from the front of Shannon Hicks. It's been moved and second. All in favor? All opposed?
I didn't catch who moved and who seconded that. Dolores moved
Dolores moved.
and,
Tom second.
Tom?
Yep.
Trying to keep up with it. Then we have a draft of special board meeting minutes from January 21st, 2016. Can we get a motion?
So moved. Second.
Shannon has moved and Dolores second. Approval of the board meeting minutes from January 21st. All in favor? All opposed? Ready for question? Motion carried. Now we're ready for old business. Any old business? None. And we go to new business. The first item, as you heard earlier, was tabled, so we'll go right on to item B, proposed revision of the confidentiality policy. Beyonce.
I just want to make sure.
Thank you.
Deoncy has changed. There's a confidentiality policy, hopefully from your packets. Unfortunately, when we drafted it, we neglected about 3 words that we needed to put in it. So before I talk about why this confidentiality policy has been changed in general, if I could ask you to make one alteration. It's the second to last sentence in the policy that talks about in which case it's retained. It says, unless outstanding bills remain, and then after that it should say, or the patron is barred.
Or the patron is
Barred.
barred
Mhm.
on page 12.
I don't see that page.
I don't see it either.
Page 12 in your confidentiality.
Would you repeat it, please?
Sure. In the place where right now it says, unless outstanding bills remain, after that it should say, or the patron is barred.
Thank you for that, instead of total.
That's all the changes from what's, that's you guys have to change it.
Thank you.
In general, and the reason that why I'm talking about this confidentiality policy to you, is we wanted to make sure that when we talk about keeping patron records confidential, that we talk about what we actually retain here at the library. And previous versions of this confidentiality policy have been incorrect in terms of what we retain. We retain a lot of records at this library. So we wanted to make sure that, particularly that last paragraph accurately described what we're retaining, which is, specifically, once a patron has registered, unless we remove their record entirely, all of their hold information, billing information, and checkout information is kept in the database, although not readily available to most staff members. Does that make sense? It's in there, but it requires some digging. The usual explanation we give is that Lynn can get it, but you can't. Not you, but I mean other staff members can. So the previous confidentiality policy spoke about the things that all staff members had access to, which is a patron's current checkouts, anything they currently owe us money on, anything they previously paid, so that if they came in and said, hey, I already paid you for that, we could go back and say, yes, you did. I see that this is a paid bill. And also any current holds that they have. So as far as I know, that's the main changes for this confidentiality policy from the one that we had before, is to as a more accurate reckoning of what records we keep. The other main change is that very last sentence where we actually refer to the Louisiana revised statute that guides our retention and our disclosure of confidential records. I'm going to go ahead and ask this question because I'm not sure. Deoncy, do you know of any other big changes that we made besides those?
No, it's under definition, meaning record, photograph records.
Oh, that's right. We took out some things that we don't keep records of because we don't have them anymore. Yeah.
That's a good question, this is sort of related to this, but I was concerned about libraries being discoverable by code.
I have a question about the discoverability of patron records. After the Patriot Act came through and, people could, library records were deemed to be discoverable. Is that information kept in a way, like, for example, if you look at my library record, I read all kind of things, so you might think I'm a terrorist. So I am just concerned that that's not something that people could get by subpoena. And I know you may not know the answer to that one.
I do know the answer to that. I mean, they could because we have it, but they would have to, write the subpoena correctly. So that,
okay.
Yeah.
So they couldn't just walk into the library and say, ban.
Does get that information.
Okay. Okay.
Are there any other questions from board? Thank you so much. Security policy. Proposed revision. Are we going to vote on this today?
Yeah. Well, I'll go ahead and move that we accept the confidentiality policy changes, the printed changes, and the ones that were just verbally expressed.
Thompson, motion, and Dolores second, that we vote on the confidentiality policy today. All in favor of the policy with the change that was made, let us see a raise of your hand, please. All opposed? Our motion carried. Confidentiality.
Let me remind, some of you came in late, but please pull the mic each time you want to speak. because I'm not gonna be able to pick it up on the recorder.
Okay, now, if nothing else, go to security.
Security policy.
Due to the fact that we allow eating and drinking in all of our library branches, with the exception of the special collections area and the genealogy area, we are proposing that under improper use of the library, the fourth bulleted item be removed, and we added the sixth bulleted item, so that the policy covers those areas where food is prohibited, eating and drinking is prohibited. That's the only change we are proposing to the security policy.
So, Shannon.
I just have a question just about logistics. Does it work to have areas where people can eat and drink in the library, or does it create problems for branches?
Sometimes, but for the most part, I think it's working, and the patrons enjoy being able to eat and drink in the branches.
Okay, because some people know how to do that, and some people do not. So I'm just always curious as to how that is working out.
Just to let you know, we debated the exact wording of that a little bit, to whether it be restrictive on foods that are overly smelly or messy or this, that, and the other. So at this time, we decided to just go something that the staff could easily interpret. And if we see problems in the future, we may have to tighten that up a little bit with the language. But right now, since most of our vending machines sell food, that's the food we're targeting at this point to allow there. We would frown on someone ordering a couple of supreme pizzas and bringing them in and sitting in the middle of the library, even though I've been told
it happens.
And as long as they don't make a mess of the furniture, we tend to tolerate it at this point. So we're more worried about the improper use of the library and making sure that it is not destroyed. We're focusing on that part. Instead of like cell phones, instead of focusing on the use of cell phones, now we focus on noise issues. So that was the compromise at this time.
Yeah, I was, to me, there are certain areas that you rent out, that you be, and because I know my sorority and all different things I'm in, but there's a certain area that you do bring the food in. But to me, the other areas you should not. If you have that certain area that where you can have your meetings and stuff like that. But when it comes back to computers, there's no computers in those areas, because that's what you set up for meetings. But I think that the sign should be that you don't eat anywhere but in that area. If it's not,
Well, it is already.
What do they eat other than that area? What do they eat?
They are allowed to eat chips and bring sodas. Basically, they can eat and drink in the library branches now.
Okay, talk to you, yes, we baby.
What about near the computers?
It's okay. The IT staff has said that it's really inexpensive to replace keyboards. So if something is, if they waste a soda or something on the keyboard, it's really inexpensive to replace it. So far, we haven't had a problem, but if they ever do.
The oils on the human hand tend to do more damage to the mice, the natural dust that's in the air than the actual crumbs on a cake. You really don't want to look inside your keyboard.
Do the library, research, not speak please?
Yes, ma'am.
Do they actually monitor this? Do they actually monitor? I'm in regards of what about the keyboard or stuff like that. To me, the trash, look here, right here, the trash, right here, with that stuff I'm doing now. You see what I'm talking about? That's what I'm saying, that's trash. And it looks bad. And then some people gonna bring, like you said, a pizza. Somebody gonna bring a pizza in there. Then you got your babies and your little ones that love to head, like my little grandbaby. First thing he head to is that computer and that children area. I'm just saying, not being a Scrooge or anything. I just, if you're gonna do it, make sure they monitor, because we don't have money to spend for nothing.
They do monitor it.
Yeah,
And
okay,
they-
that's-
They encourage the patrons to put their trash in the trash cans, but if not, they roll the library branches and staff members will pick it up and put it in the trash can if it's left.
It'd be good to have that sign like, ma'am, trashy, what that sign she say?
Keep it classy.
Be classy and put it right there in that by them.
That's one of the new trends in libraries, to eat snack.
I know.
That's one of the new trends.
One comment.
Yes.
A minor,
No,
ob-
all them all. Okay, so-
a minor observation. On page
Isn't it
14,
different?
under state and local laws, I think we need to change the word above in the first sentence to below.
Which one?
Specific laws govern this type of negative listed below. Because on the next page, they're all listed. Very minor, but,
But it's referring to the behaviors which are above.
pardon?
That sentence is referring to the behaviors that are listed above that area.
Look at the top part.
Yeah.
It's not referring to the list.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Tom, state that sentence again, please.
Yes, I would
Give a
just,
page number.
page 14,
Mhm.
and if I'm looking at it as a separate entity on the page, state and local laws, we're specifically mentioning the laws governing this type of behavior listed below.
But
It's not below?
no, the negative behaviors are above at the top of the page, and that's what that sentence is referring to.
Oh, okay, I thought it was referring to the page, the behaviors listed on page 15.
The second sentence is,
Okay, the following, okay.
Perhaps.
Then I did get a little-
Syntax error, we could change the sentence to read the types of negative behaviors listed above, maybe found state and local codes.
Yeah, above.
Right.
Might be better.
Listed above, okay.
It says above, but now that you pointed it out, but I didn't see it that way before. I thought you were talking about the other behaviors.
okay.
Okay, it's okay. Dolores?
Can everybody hear me? I want to.
Oh, my baby.
Bird.
Look with me, you all, please. Look, is okay, or should we change that to page number? Page 13. Eating and drinking in areas where food and drink are prohibited is what I was thinking. Anything else?
I have another question, Josephine.
Yes, sir.
I have a question, Beyonce. Explain this to me, because I really didn't understand it. On page 15, which is one of the typical of the legal coverages of negative behavior, and I was just wondering exactly how did defense of others fall into negative behavior? I just didn't understand that. I'm not from the library system, so maybe you could explain that to me? It's the third one from the top on page 15.
You'd have to read the section code to find out what it says.
Yes, and I didn't write this policy.
No, I understand that. I was just wanted to enlighten myself and find out what was wrong with defending others. Maybe the librarian's in trouble and somebody came to her defense, and that would be considered a negative behavior, defense of another. I just didn't understand that.
Get the section and let you
Okay,
know.
look.
We'll look it up and let you know.
Thank you.
Anything else? Judy?
No, I would just like to make a motion that we accept the security policy with the proposed changes and the corrections that we have made today.
Second.
Judy moved. Do I have a second? To accept the policy with the necessary changes that were made today. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. So next in order is the patron behavior policy, Beyonce.
This is the same policy that you all approved in June. However, there has been an addition, and you will see that on page 20, number 27. It's an addition to prohibit the use of skateboarding, rollerblading, and the use of hoverboards on library property, and also the charging of the hoverboards on library property.
Not anywhere on library property. It's built.
Okay, I do have a problem with that, the hoverboards. I guess, I've been listening, looking at the news also. Even, you know how babies love to, all that pretty room out there by those library branches, they skateboard, they do it all. Then we have to be in the library to do that. Since we're researching on the hoverboards, and just like LSU, Southern University, all, they're prohibiting them not even to bring them on the campus. These babies can still move, they can be bumped against a building, a car. I don't think we need to bring them at all and on the property of a library. It's too that they blowing up and all, and they tempted. And when kids see one hoverboard, I looked at one of the other, they were just as shiny and pretty as can be. But I just feel that it's going to be a hazard to, because they may not even be outside, in there. I think we need that's just me. I think we need to take it off.
So ban the hoverboards entirely then?
From the thing,
Okay.
right now until they do just like the other, they doing research on it. But they are banning them from places.
Okay, we can do that while still allowing them. We don't want them skateboarding or rollerblading on the property because people get hurt. We had a child get really hurt the other day, in the parking lot skateboarding. So
we need to ban all of them? I mean, I don't have a problem with that.
we can ban skateboarding, rollerblading and all, but if a child traveled on their skateboard, and they want to put it under their arm and not actively skateboard in the parking lot, I don't want to make it a burden on them. That's why we wrote it this way, to say, if you're carrying it around and not skateboarding, that's okay. I mean, we can ban it all if you want.
Well, I can go with that, the robot, but I just cannot, now that they're doing research on these hoverboards, right now, we need to say, just take that out until we find more research, because they're researching all of that.
I agree with, I agree.
Okay,
You stopping?
I agree with that statement of banning them.
Ban
because we're talking
hoverboards
about-
altogether?
We're talking about young people, and
All right, so
we're talking about rules that young people don't like to abide by, and we're talking about preventing injuries.
So we can make a statement, hoverboards are not allowed on library property, period.
That would be my statement.
Okay?
May I suggest we table the motion until she can run that statement by the city attorneys, and if they approve that, we can bring it to you next time. Does that work?
That'll work.
But I might disagree with the attorneys, he said yes.
Well,
I think
I'm pretty sure the attorney will let us know what they want to do.
Well,
Are we gonna allow skateboarding, rollerblading,
I did run it by the attorneys, because I wanted to make a sign to put in the parking lot to say, can we make a sign that says no rollerboarding, skateboarding, and whatever? And they said yes, that it wasn't a problem. I see no problem with posting the signs. I have not researched the effect on liability, but it could only help, not hurt, to install such signs. The violation would not be a city ordinance violation, so no tickets could be issued. So I don't think the attorney's going to have a problem with you banning hoverboards. If they do, we can always change it.
Yeah, so are we gonna allow skateboarding and rollerblading?
Why don't we
Right now,
strike
it
the
says-
word hoverboard out of every sentence where it appears and add a sentence at the bottom, hoverboards are not allowed on library property.
Right now, it says skateboarding, rollerblading.
Right, no, she said,
So I would change it to say skateboarding, rollerblading are not allowed on library property due to safety risks. Patrons are allowed to bring their skateboards on library property as long as they don't use them. And then strike the third sentence about charging and add another sentence, hoverboards are not allowed on library property.
period.
When they ride their skateboards or the rollerblades on the library property, what happens when they come to the library? Do they have to leave the skateboard outside, or?
That's what we're saying.
They can bring it under their arm. If they're getting home through their neighborhood on their skateboard, then once they get off our property, they can get back on their little skateboard that their mom and dad let them go in the neighborhood in, and we're not inconveniencing them that way.
So we have, didn't we agree to table this until we get more information?
Okay. I'm gonna say this, even though it's your sign you're saying, but can we say that if it hurts, it's not responsible of the library?
We can say that, but it won't have any legal effect. They'll sue us, they'll sue the,
I'm saying, why can't we say if it happens? We already told them the rule, they can't.
because a good lawyer would sue us all anyway, and we'll all be in court, and they'll find a way to make it our liability, because we let little Jimmy skateboard, and it was against the rules or something.
Okay, so,
May I ask, where exactly do we stand on that now? We're prohibiting,
We're prohibiting hoverboards on library property, period.
right,
And I
Oh, we're proposing that.
sentence to read this. It'll read, use of skateboarding and skateboards and rollerblades are not allowed on library property due to safety risks. Patrons are allowed to bring their skateboards and rollerblades on library property as long as they don't use them. Patrons may not use or charge hoverboards anywhere on library property. That covers all. And so let us table that until we can rewrite it for you.
so they're not allowed to bring them, use them, or charge the hoverboards.
Hoverboards on library property forbidden.
And I think we all agree with that policy for two reasons: liability, mainly for liability.
mainly for liability.
And it's disruptive. If you're allowed to bring it, the temptation is going to be to use it.
They are, because we know children.
And having a rule in writing
Teenagers.
gives it some teeth. So if someone says, I demand to see something in writing, why are you saying I can't have my hoverboard? We produce the policy, and we say, these are the library rules.
Okay.
The reason I wanted to bring it up, Mr. Tuggle, is that, are you still bringing this to the attorney for his opinion?
No.
No?
No need to.
Okay, good. Then we can vote on it now.
Yes.
Change.
Right.
Okay, I'll move that we accept the changes to number 27 under the patron behavior policy as read. Yeah.
Okay.
Second.
Have a second. It's been moved and second that we accept the policy with the prohibition of hoverboards and all such items, period. Question? Motion stand approved.
Just one, 4 pages.
We gotta get it in a
Copy. Thank
We got to get it in narrative. Right here. Review of fines and fees policy.
At the November regular board meeting, we were discussing an article that had appeared in American Libraries, the magazine, about a trend in the nation to do away with fines and fees for overdue books altogether. And it was suggested by Ms. Hicks that we examine our fines and fees policy. And so what I've done for you, as you can see in this, on the first page, is a fines compared to circulation chart from 2015 to 2008. I will tell you that the 2015 fines number of $97,000 was the projected income. We're not going to make that. We're close, but we're not going to make that. But as you can see, as circulation has risen and declined over the last few years, the fines and fees haven't quite matched, so the to argue that fines and fees go hand in hand with circulation, I couldn't go with that argument either. But at this point, we have stabilized pretty much for the last 4 years around $95,000 for fees and fines, and as my chief budget officer will tell you, that's a substantial chunk of change, and he would not like to see that loss. We did another comparison. The second page is the top 10 worst fees and fine offenders. Of course, we've hidden their barcodes, so you don't know who they are, but you can see the activity date, that's year, month, day, and the balance and who they are by profile. Our worst offender owes us $1,000. Then it drops on down to $538 for number 10. After that, it tends to drop a little bit more, but all told, if we were to take the top 20 offenders and make an effort to collect that, it still wouldn't bring us more than $25,000, maybe $30,000. Yes, ma'am.
What does somebody use get $1,000 in library?
That's a good question. I'm not 100% sure, but I am expecting that 20 of the heavy-duty, super expensive DVD collections. Would I be right about that, Lynn? So anyway.
My question was, what does someone do to get $1,000 in fines? Because that is...
Well, I have to tell you here that they had to work extremely hard. In other library systems like my previous employer where there was unlimited checkout, $5,000 and $10,000 overdue fees and fines was not outrageous. That's why when I saw that our top 10 offenders don't quite make $10,000, I was impressed. So anyway, as you can see on the third page, our current registration and circulation policy, the overdue fines, we are more than generous. I think the intent of the article that we were discussing and doing away with fees and fines is to make it better on our more economically disadvantaged users, and at a nickel a day for an overdue book, I don't think we're being outrageous. Not at all. And one of the other things I checked into when doing a little bit of research, in the state of Georgia, you can only keep overdue fees and fines on the books for 6 years. After that, you have to sit here and drop it. You cannot keep it on the books after 6 years, nor can you hold it against a library patron. So the game we played in Georgia was most of the times if they did an outrageous amount of fees and fines, they would just wait us out. Here, there is no such law in the state of Louisiana. In fact, we can write off for accounting purposes amounts that are deemed uncollectible as long as we've made a reasonable attempt at collection. At this time, I propose to the board that we just go ahead and maintain our fees and fines as they are, and we also continue to try to collect these. We had mentioned earlier that we would not do overdrive, but we could check into a local collection agency, and if the board would like to, I would look into that and report to you the next meeting for that, see if it would be worth our efforts. And if not, we could always turn around and check into other things. I have to admit to you, the staff was rather happy that we had the possibility or the opportunity to trade fines for food for the harvest this in November. So if for no other reason, I'd like to keep collecting fees and fines for that purpose.
Do we need a motion to that effect? Your question?
After seeing the chunk of change that it gets us, for keeping that revenue going. I know at the last meeting we talked about hiring a collection agent to go after the heavy hitters. Like, I think it's just shameful for somebody to have this much in line. I mean, really.
That's probably not just fees and fines. Yes,
I mean, I have an $18.95 fine in Baton Rouge that is haunting me daily, and I can't wait to get down there to pay it because they won't take anything over the phone. So this bothers me. But I would also like us to consider, you know, our threshold for being able to check out is $3.
Right.
And I agree that a nickel a day is very generous and conservative, very generous. Bossier just raised their fees to 10 cents, and that's a turnoff for me as a patron. So I don't think we do that. But I think we might want to consider raising that threshold from 3 to maybe 5.
We did something very similar at Live Oak Public Libraries about 4 years ago, so I will not disagree with you on that one.
Because somebody who's concerned about having a $3 fine like me, it'll keep me up at night. I'm going to pay it, but $3, you can get to that pretty quickly if you check out a lot of books and DVDs.
Let us investigate that, and we'll report back to you next meeting.
Thank you.
And I think that is it. Other than that, Mr. Pelton would be very upset with me if I recommended you doing away with any of this. So at this time, I say until our revenue situation, as far as the pension goes, in the next couple of years, until we see how that's going to affect us, to just hold as is.
John, let me just ask you these codes under the profile.
Okay.
Is there a code there for corporation?
There is.
For this corporation?
Businesses and business owners, and I do believe property owners is the standard for that, correct?
Daycares, like group registration, daycares, food service.
Okay.
Yeah. But I don't have the policy in front of me, but usually it's standard that any business owner, no matter where they live, if they own a business inside the service area, is allowed to in the name of the business.
If it's J.S. Clark, tell me privately, I'll take care of that.
Now, I know we understand that the overall purpose in fines in libraries, as I understand it, as a former librarian, is to get your materials back.
Yeah.
So when you have a large system like we have, as many branches, it is going to come in as a substantial financial benefit to continue to charge those fines for late materials and missing materials. So I'm in agreement with that too, as earlier stated. Yes, ma'am.
When you asked about the abbreviations here, the code, what CORP is corporation, what's BKM?
Bookmobile.
I couldn't hear you.
So that, odds are that's a daycare or a senior's home.
I couldn't hear you, yours.
Okay, I was thinking it was maybe Bookmobile. The BKM, I was thinking it was Bookmobile, and I just wanted to make sure that, I just wanted to ask to make sure.
You just have to wonder why corporations don't pay that. Okay. Committee assignments. Did we need a motion? At one point there I asked in reference to a statement you made.
You had asked if we needed one. I don't think you need one for me to just make a report for you.
Oh,
Thanks
the
for that
report that you were making.
So I appreciate that.
And we will get back to you the next meeting regarding the other.
Committee reports, committee assignments. We have worked with this committee assignment, and everyone so gladly agreed. We want to state it that way. Your executive committee, Josephine Wade, Chair, Hope Batts, and Dottie Bell will serve on that committee. Finance, Neil Johnson is going to chair that committee. Julia and Shannon will be members of that committee. Personnel, our Vice President, Hope Batts, will chair. Tom Tibby and Dolores Lynch will serve on that committee. We're going to wait in reference to the tuition exemption representative until we get the other information in our next meeting.
Let me
Yes, ma'am.
clarify that a tuition reimbursement committee is not a board committee.
But we do have a board representative sit on it.
Yeah, we understand that, but it was on the list as appointing someone to be their representative, that's why I mentioned it.
And the representative was on there by mistake.
Okay, it was scratched. I saw that. Okay, thank you. Thank you, committee members, board members for serving on these committees. Reports? Our director.
Here we go. Since our last regular board meeting in November, I have finalized our partnership with the Bossier Parish Community College for offering high-set classes here in the parish across the river. There's still a little tension over there with that, with the Bossier Parish Library system, but we won't talk about that in public. But anyway, they are working with us. We are setting up parts of the third floor right now to give them at the main library 3 classrooms, and as the program rolls out, we will eventually get into the branches and have satellite programs. What this gives us is BIPSI instructors, and BIPSI materials and BIPSI furnishings and that nature. We supply internet access, computers where possible, and floor space. And we get certified instructors and an all-around better program. They, on average, bring in, well, the previous year they had 750 students. In 2014 across the river, whereas we had less than, there you go, 50. So they bring the students, they bring the expertise, and they bring a lot of other stuff with them, and they came to us, and I think this will make an excellent partnership for the future. Since November, we've had a successful staff development day and received some great reviews. If you haven't seen the photos of the facility guys trying to make a gingerbread house, you really need to take a look at those. We had our first directors roundtable luncheon this previous Friday, and I would think it went well. We got some valid suggestions for process improvement from them, and we had a good old-fashioned pizza party right in this room here. And we will continue doing that monthly. We will, we've scheduled them all through Friday, but it was suggested at the last system meeting that we have one for nights and weekends on a Saturday, so we will do one of them on a Saturday soon. We are currently working on a couple of grants in conjunction with each other, one from the Women's Philanthropy Network and the other one from the Rotary Club of South Shreveport, to provide books and word pedometers for a program going on in the Transformation Zone up north of here. It's part of Step Forward's My Brother's Keeper program that's going on in conjunction with Dr. Gorey and the school board. So we're working with that, and we hope to get that grant. It's a sizable endowment to help us out there with buying pedometers. Yes, ma'am.
You said word pedometers?
Word pedometers.
What is that?
They are little digital tools that a child reads into, and it keeps track with not only the number of words, but it gives them a score so we can see how many new words. What this is all part of is Lavette Fuller had an idea of how to, there's what is called the 30 million, I swear to you it's the 30 million word gap. I'll check on that. She has it right there in front of her. She might tell you that. But most children in dire poverty that do not have parents who read to them, by the time they get to school, they've got a sizable word gap. And so this helps the parents, and it's part of our Every Child Ready to Read program that we're going to slowly roll out to help with early literacy efforts around the parish. But we're trying to shrink that word gap in the Transformation Zone, and we'll use those, check out those word pedometers, and they can read into them. And it's an interesting way to help parents and the library keep track of exactly how successful we are. We do a lot of effort out there to read to children and help them expand their vocabulary, but this is an electronic way to actually measure it. So, and the Women's Philanthropy Network is really impressed with it, and we'll see how it goes. I also met with Green Gold for the very first time. Met with Securitas, toured the State Library. I worked my first 2 hours at a service desk up at West Shreve last week and had a fun time. I hadn't forgotten as much as I thought I had. And mark it on your calendar, Wednesday, February 17th at 1:30 p.m. we will be holding our ribbon cutting for this building. The date and the time were selected in conjunction with the Chamber of Commerce for the best PR and the best time to get some of our representatives and politicians and the mayor, get all them to join us. Speaking of commissioners and such individuals, I had lunch with Lyndon Johnson, parish commissioner, last month, and that went well. First thing he asked me is how much more money I wanted out of him, and I was happy to tell him none. And so I just asked for his support, and he was very supportive. Lavette Fuller and I also attended a junior achievement mentoring lunch at the convention center, and we met with public services, with Jen Elkins from WTBS regarding the summer reading program that goes on, when is that, May? And, okay, well, their program kicks it off in April, sorry about that. Marketing efforts, our Toys for Tot drive that we did at Staff Development Day, correct? Well, it was fairly successful. Our digital advertising that we're doing in the chamber is fun. They designed this for us, free of charge, and we're allowed to use it anywhere we like. But it will also be on display in the chamber for the next year. So, for a small sum of, I do believe, $700, every Chamber of Commerce member will be reminded that Shreve Memorial Library has 21 locations, a mobile library and an e-branch, and all the wonderful things that we do. Our James Meredith book signing program was on 3 different television stations and got quite a bit of promotion there. I will be doing the hometown show on KSLA in the next few weeks, bless you, to emphasize our partnership with Link and the various other community resources that we have available here. Again, ribbon cutting has already been released through the local chamber here on this side of town, and Link is doing more and more. For Link, that is a webpage that's put together by the Community Foundation. You may remember from the last board meeting we talked about how it is a clearinghouse website for various community resources that are available free to the public, and it's got maps. And so if you wanted to know all the early literacy providers in the parish, you could go to that map and put it in, and it would give you all that. We also got all the libraries added to that last month and got it on our website. And they're quite happy about that, so they're doing all kinds of different marketing things, and they want to drag us onto various radio programs also. And Kathy has provided you with some flyers for our African American genealogy class. The gentleman putting that on would like to see as much exposure as we can get, so if you would share those with anybody and everybody that you know, and if you need more of them, let Kathy know. She can provide you with more. Now, just to give you a quick update about the budget, Kathy, am I supposed to hand these out?
Yes.
Okay. I'll beat you to it. The advertising agency works with the community chamber. This is a quick update on 2015 budget final numbers. It's not totally final. We don't have the last tax revenues in yet, but as you can see, we're right at 99% of all of our revenue totals are in for the year. And as far as expenditures go, we've been very frugal, and we barely hit 90%. There's still what they call some of those 13th month expenditures out there that will be rolling in, and as they do, that might bump us up to 91, 92% at most. We are pretty much guaranteed that the revenues will total out at 100%, or at least 99.5. So all told, we did a good job. We didn't waste any taxpayer money last year, and we stayed where we were supposed to. Any questions about that?
Will you elaborate on that for us? 13th month expenditures.
One more time, ma'am.
13th month expenditures.
Oh, that's our friend Susan can tell you that those are the things that are done in December that never kind of show up until mid-January or late because of the holidays and stuff of that. What we joke about that 13th month expenditures, but it's basically things that are done in late December that because of the holidays don't show up until January. And Susan will tell you the first 2 weeks of January for her are crazy trying to deal with what's left over in 12 and get it all cleared up, but we joke about that. It's strictly a joke. I apologize for not making that clear, but that's the 13th month expenditures. That's what that means. Sorry about that. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I just want to commend you and the staff on getting some excellent programming. The website is really good, and I'm excited about the fact that we're getting some good authors. I'm excited about Joanne Fluke coming, because I'm a huge fan. I'm probably saying roll out when I go there. And I really commend the staff and you on how making the library a more accessible part of the community.
We have discussed the need for programming to be that, as they say in the retail world, leader loss type of thing to get folks into the door. Once we get them into the door through programming, then we can get a library card in their hand, show them all the other resources we have. So that's where we're going, and I can't take any credit for it. It's Deonce and her people who are doing a wonderful job. In fact, they just sent out lists today of all the community engagement places they plan on visiting in the upcoming year, along with all the what we mentioned or call system-wide programming, which means more than one branch. And it's an excellent list of things. So if you're happy now, wait for the rest of the year.
And I also want to commend you on the social media presence, because whoever does the Instagram page and Twitter likes and follows me, and it's like, whoa, okay, there's, so if they're doing that for me, they're doing that for a lot of people. So I just...
That would be our friend Caleb, and we have unshackled him and turned him loose and told him to have fun, and he seems to be doing that. And you're not the only person who agrees that it's effective. Liz Swain of the Downtown Development Authority also gave us a big thumbs up last month. So whatever Caleb's doing, I personally don't do a lot of Facebooking, Twittering, or Instagramming or any of that, but whatever he's doing, he understands it, and he does. He's doing a tremendous job, and we will continue to do that. No.
I think I started.
Yeah, I've been catching the strobe lights in my corner, but that hurts. You're going to have to excuse me for the next few minutes. I'm temporarily deaf. At this time, I had promised some of you, I don't remember which of you, that we would take a look at state standards comparison. If you got just a minute, I would just take a quick minute or two to discuss those. The state standards are pretty much, we have them on, we can get them on the state library website. There's a document, it's called Standards for Louisiana Public Libraries, and it was put together about 6 years ago, but the standards still hold. And as part of my board certification exercise, I decided to see where we stand as far as the standards go. So let's just rush right through them and let you know. As far as planning goes, the standard is a public library must engage in regular planning if it is to offer its constituency effective service. It is recommended that such a study happen every 5 years. As you may guess, we're behind, but we will be working to rectify that situation this year. As far as finance goes, the standard is financing of the library must be approved on an ongoing and reliable basis. As you can tell, we have our financing and we are in compliance with state standards and meet all minimum requirements. As far as materials go, the standard is the collection budget line item should make up the following percentages. They have 3 standards. They call them essential, enhanced, and comprehensive. Essential is 10%, enhanced is 15%, and comprehensive is 20%. We currently sit at 8%, and that overall line item was increased 3% for 2015. However, while it may look like we're not meeting the actual standard, in 2014, only half of the library systems in the state actually met the essential or enhanced standard. Perhaps a better indication of how we spend our money on collections would be per dollar or dollars per capita. And at $6.78 per person in 2014, only 6 systems in the state spent more money per person in their system than we did. So we may not be there on line item as far as that goes, but per capita we do better than the rest of the state, except for those what they call the top 6. Quickly, personnel. The standard is each library system will employ at least 1 full-time librarian and adhere to the following staffing levels. Essential is 1 per 2,000, enhanced is 1 per 1,500, comprehensive is 1 per 1,000. And for librarians, essential is 1 per 10,000, enhanced is 1 per 8,000, and comprehensive is 1 per 5,000. Non-librarian staff equals 175, so we exceed the enhanced minimum by 6 employees. And as far as the essential standard for librarians, it would be 25, and we have 26.5, so we have 1.5 librarian more than the essential. There are lots of other interesting numbers I can share with you just to let you know. As far as staff development goes, it says the essential is 1%, while we only hit 0.56% of the budget toward that. We hit all the other definitions as far as what they delineated we're supposed to do, and we're in comprehensive. So we managed to make comprehensive with half the money they suggest that we use. As far as services go, we hit enhanced or comprehensive on all of them except one, and that is computers. As far as computers, the standard goes 1 computer for every 2,000 is the essential, 1 computer for every 1,500 is the enhanced, and 1 computer for every 1,000 is the comprehensive. To achieve comprehensive would require us to have 250 PCs per 1,000 population. We actually double that. We have 500, so we blow the comprehensive out of the water. If you would like more of this, I will be glad to supply this document to you through an email. At this time, I stop.
And your public services update.
Public services will still be in vacancies. In addition to the library substitute vacancies for full-time and part-time branches, we have about 8 more vacant positions in public services that we are either currently interviewing for or we're scheduling interviews. As John said, the area managers, youth services associates, and I have finalized a system-wide programming list. For example, for the month of February, all branches are required to host a Black History program. We'll have a Women's History program. I've already contacted the Mayor's Women's Commission to see if one of those members, one of those committee members would be willing to speak at a branch or 2. The Public Relations Coordinator, Youth Services Associates, and the Mobile Library Supervisor have finalized their list of community engagements. So the library will have a presence at many fairs, parades, and festivals in the local area as well as the surrounding areas. Author Joanne Fluke will be at the main library on Saturday, February 27th to promote her latest title, Wedding Cake Murder. Barnes & Noble will also be on site to sell the books, and the proceeds of the book sales will be given to the library. In addition to system meetings, the area managers and I would like to meet quarterly with the full-time branch managers, and we sent out some information today to get their take on it. And the majority would like to have a quarterly system meeting, so we will put that into effect soon. On Tuesday, January 19th, James Meredith, who is the first African-American admitted to the University of Mississippi and an author, along with Dr. Hilliard Lakey, who is a professor at Jackson State and an author, held a book signing at the Atkins branch, and the program was successful, and it was made possible by the Shreveport Federal Credit Union. And last but not least, the Metropolitan Planning Commission has asked if 3 of our branches would exhibit maps of their proposed zoning areas. So if you haven't already, you will soon see those exhibits in the Broadmoor, Hamilton, South Caddo, and North Shreveport branch. And that's it for public services.
Thank you. Good, very, very good report. Financial services and risk management. Update, Susan. Did I skip one? Support services.
Sorry. Okay. We've been doing a lot, let me tell you about it.
No.
In the last 3 months of the year, our acquisitions department spent well over $400,000, leaving just about 3% of their budget to roll over on new items, and their open serials librarian position was filled. The cataloging department cataloged and processed and added 6,889 items that the acquisitions department had just purchased. They added that to the catalog in the last 2 months, and they are preparing to interview candidates for their opening. They've got a cataloging librarian position. Our digitizer has been extremely busy. As of January 15th, all of the minutes for the Shreve Memorial Library Board of Control from its founding through 1992 have been digitized. All of that is stored on a private library server, but the ones that are a matter of public record have also been transcribed and posted to our digital archive. We're talking about our eBranch. As of December, the library has almost doubled their followers on Twitter with 826 followers. A year ago, that was 455. Our aggregate Facebook reach during December into January was 23,567, an increase of approximately 50% since October. And for the past couple of months, our eBranch manager has been maintaining a 100% response rate on Facebook. For every comment that is posted on our page, he responds to those individuals. So we're extremely proud. IT, they have just finished setting up the largest training lab in the library system here at the Support Services Center with 24 workstations. That was a huge deal, and we're now going to be able to use that as our training lab for training staff. And now they're facing some of their biggest challenges. We've moved into this building, but they still have the server room at the main library. And so over the next weeks and months, they are going to be migrating equipment and services from the server room downtown to the server room here. Unfortunately, there are challenges that go along with that migration. There will be service interruptions. It's unavoidable, but we're doing everything we can to minimize the disruption, give as much advance notice as we can so that we can get everything here in this facility. And do some upgrades and things as part of that. In our training and development department, we've oriented 6 new hires in the past 2 months. We're in the process of streamlining our orientation process, and we're going to be coordinating with the City of Shreveport's HR department for some of the training that they provide their new employees. Our employees will be able to get some of that training as well. We completed 20-plus hours of supervisory training for approximately 35 branch managers and department heads last year. Starting 2 weeks ago, or was it last week? Last week, we're doing that whole series of training for our assistant branch managers, and they will go through that training in 2016. And then in the past 2 months, we've also had 7 branch managers, assistant branch managers, and department supervisors complete 15 hours of training in management and leadership skills. John told you that we had our staff day in December with 188 employees in attendance, and they got their mandatory anti-harassment and ethics training, but they did have a fun team building exercise he alluded to where each table got to build a gingerbread house together. They had a short amount of time, and then we voted on which one was best. And I have some very funny pictures I'm going to give to Caleb to post on our Facebook page so y'all can take a look at those. Finally, we've been doing research with our training and development coordinator, finally getting to the point where we are developing curriculum tracks that will be put in place for employees. We did a needs assessment to learn from employees what they were looking for, and then we've got other input that we're taking, and we're actually going to have tracks for mandated training, job-specific training, personal development training. We're looking at implementing a training calendar that would allow employees to actually go in and register for different classes, and then it's going to track their progress, and all employees will be expected to complete a certain number of curriculum hours every year from the various different tracks. Bringing in a training coordinator who's actually has an educational background has just really helped us move along with this development of curriculum. And finally, over the past 2 months, we've processed over 600 applications. We've posted 15 positions, and 3 internal candidates were selected, and we're still in the process of filling the rest of those.
Jenny, I have a quick question. The training that you do with the staff, is any of that, I know the state library does a certification program with support staff. Does any of that tie into what they do? Is that totally separate?
That's totally separate.
Okay, but we do participate in that?
We do.
Okay.
We've got a couple of employees who've actually gotten their certification.
Any other questions? Thank you, Sylvia. Financial services and risk management.
My area covers financial services, maintenance, project management, and risk management all kind of rolled into one. We've had a lot of projects going on, for example, related, well, before we even started the BIPSI project, we've moved 30-plus years of records from the main library, a lot of which were housed on the 3rd floor. Some of them were in the basement, some of them on the 4th floor. And we've recently moved them to our record storage room so the records custodians can have access to them. And this emptied a room that we had created on the 3rd floor for the records previously. That is becoming one of the classrooms for the BIPSI program. In addition, now that we've moved out of the 4th floor, we have a lot of cubicle structures that we hired a company to, we assessed that we could utilize a lot of them to make 2 more classrooms on the 3rd floor. So we're disassembling these resources that we already have and reassembling them, hopefully at no cost. Hopefully we have all the parts that we can put this together, create the doors, walls, and everything that they need. They haven't told me they need anything yet. So that's great. That's like win-win. And it empties those structures from the 4th floor, you know, should we want to use them. You know, that may be one less obstacle later. We also moved that massive antique leaded glass front cabinet that was on the 4th floor as you walk down the hallway at the main to the front up there. You may have noticed that when you came in, and that was a special handling situation because of our elevator height and width and all that, and the fragile leaded glass and all. We also have had a few small projects around here. You know, when you move in a new house and you find things aren't quite like you want them and you need to do a couple things and get some throw rugs and whatever. Well, we had the glass metal storefront pieces that are up above the offices you see as you walk down the hall. In acquisitions, the architect had left them open, so all you had was the actual metal with no glass. We have added glass above the acquisitions offices because they were not able to have a private phone conversation, talk to a vendor, conduct their business with the openness that the architect built in. You know, when we got there and lived in it, it wasn't real practical. So we did go and add the glass this last week. So you're welcome to go see that now looks the same as all the other offices. We also found, when we assessed the main library for the new BIPSI program, there on the 3rd floor is a huge computer area, and next to it is a smaller computer, like a lab area. And there's a wall, and there's glass above that. So there's no privacy if they're having if BIPSI has a special class in there and the public is still using all the other computers, the public is staring at the students and the instructors. So we're trying to get some blinds put in that area to make that all private. We're working on that. We completed all of our end-of-year bill payment, and like the director said, the last weeks of the year and the first weeks of the year are kind of scary. We're just about to wrap up our beginning of the year processes. We have to create all new purchase orders for all of our bids. It's like starting from scratch. You set up your new files and stuff, and that takes a lot of coordination with the city of Shreveport. So it's been kind of all hands on deck, and we've got 90-something% of that completed now, so we can get into our business better. We have some final tasks that are still winding down in this building. As you hear, the fire alarm decided to go off. The power went off in this part of town. It triggered a sensor. The sensor was high above in the garage area over there. I've got gentlemen on ladders right now testing sensors and figuring all that out, but they've got the strobe lights off. We've had little roof repairs. We've had paint touch-up. We've replaced a few floor tiles. We've adjusted some tricky doors that didn't want to shut just right, that kind of thing. So we're, 95% done on the building. The last things left to be done are some roof adjustments. And maintenance is in the process of picking up canned goods from all the 21 branches that collected them. And if you can imagine these massive bins that they use, even half full, weigh, I don't know how many pounds, a couple 100 pounds or whatever. And so it takes an entire week for them to cycle throughout the whole parish, have the proper, manpower and equipment to get that on our trucks and get that hauled to the food bank. And that's what they've been in the process of doing. We're also in the process of hiring a dock worker. The job is posted for this building, so that when all these 18-wheelers and these box trucks come all day long, we don't have to leave financial services, run back there, deal with the dock, then come back and pay bills, and then come back and do purchasing and all. And that's just going to be a real blessing when that happens. And finally, I think you heard before, but that our architects won the 2015 AIA Shreveport Merit Design Award for the design of this building. So we're real proud and excited about that. That's all I've got.
Thank you so much. John?
That's it.
Miscellaneous?
No miscellaneous for me.
Okay. We are good.
Jenny, let me ask you a question. Somewhat due to a lot of the training that's being offered in personnel, we talked about different tracks, and some of them are mandatory training, some of them could be, offered for professional development and so forth. Is any of that type of training tied into any kind of salary schedule in any way?
Not.
I think you understand why I'm asking.
Well, we're not doing it salary-wise, but it is going to be mandatory for your evaluation and review. It will be built in as part of the evaluation and review.
Okay, but
not part of the salary schedule.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Are we going to do a date for the next week? Oh, my goodness.
What'd she say?
Oh, my goodness.
You don't have a date for the next meeting.
I did not propose one. It'll be the fourth Monday of March, March 21st. Fourth Monday?
You said the 21st, Susan?
Yes,
Thank
28.
you.
Is it?
28? Oh,
After Easter.
spring break, baby.
That's spring break.
Okay.
I just wanted to add and intelligently answer Tom's question. I've researched Louisiana revised statute.
Thank you, Deonce.
Defense of others, according to the statute, it is justifiable to defend someone, but because it would be a physical, altercation or whatever, that's why it's prohibited.
Okay.
That's why it's viewed as a negative behavior. Because it could be a physical assault or abuse or some fight if someone defends another person. And physical assault, abuse, and fighting is a negative behavior on library property.
I guess you throw your body in front of somebody, but that's about it.
We got some laws in the state.
Thank you for that intellectual answer.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else?
Did we settle on dating?
Didn't we say the 20?
The 28th is the day after Easter, and it's spring break. Right.
You may want to move it up a week.
And what is that day?
March 21st.
That's right.
It's now the 21st?
Correct, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Do we need a motion to change that? We do need a motion? Same time.
I believe that we have the next board meeting on Monday, March 21st, here at the Support Services Center at 4 p.m.
Second.
Shannon moved, Tom second. At the next meeting be here, March 21st, at the same time. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Next meeting, March 21st, right here at the Support Center. Thank you so very much. Meeting's adjourned.